Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Dov Baron on the show with me. Dov, so great to have you. Welcome.
Thanks, Chris. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share and hopefully awaken a couple of people and maybe set some bums on fire.
Oh, that's exactly what we need. I mean, in today's day and age, we need our bums set on fire. We need to be in action mode. And You call yourself the Dragonist. I know I said before we hit record, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself to the audience however you see fit. My audience consists of entrepreneurs at all stages. So bring the fire. Let's get it started.
Well, the Dragonist is obviously a metaphor. It's that I awaken the dragon inside of other people. But what does that mean at a personal level? There is something within you that I call your dragon, and you have a dragon fire. And dragon leaders are not necessarily corporate leaders or political leaders, although those are often my clients. They are people who feel a desire to make a difference in the world that is bigger than them and that is bigger than money. Now, I will be clear in saying that the people I work with are already very successful usually.
Yes.
However, they become far more successful. So I've worked with entrepreneurs, with CEOs, with athletes, entertainers, it doesn't matter. Everybody becomes more successful by tapping into that dragon fire. So what is that? Well, here's what it is. It's this desire for you to make a difference in the world that's bigger than you. It should outlive you. It's something that matters more to you than profit. Right. Although profit's important. You live in a world where you need to make money. I understand that. You got to pay the rent, of course. But if you just pursue money, you'll end up very empty. I know because I have met many people who have got more money than you will ever dream of, who are miserable sods. That's not what you want. You want a life that is impactful. So being a leader means about having impact and having influence and sharing that with others to lift up their life, to fill them with compassion and empathy and to be able to see each other in a different light. So when you think about dragons, I love the metaphor. So I'm just going to explain the metaphor a little bit. I think that's going to help everybody.
Yeah.
So I have a big background in a lot of different things, but one of the things I love to study was Jungian psychology and archetypes. And in there you find dragons. Now, when we think about dragons, we think about these giant creatures who are impenetrable. And a lot of old leadership was that. It was this iconic figure who was impenetrable, that, never show the chink of your armor. But when you think about a dragon is, of course, huge and powerful. And dragons don't fly in big flocks. They tend to be, more selective about who they're around. Yes, they're covered in scales and they breathe fire. But now let's look at that a little bit deeper. Dragons are also, in mythology, they protect something very precious. Usually it's shown as gold, but it's really a metaphor for protecting what is most precious. On top of that, dragons have all these scales that are impenetrable, but the one that's on the front of their chest, the one that is right over the heart, is completely translucent. It allows you to see the heart, and it's completely penetrable. So dragons have a ton of power. They protect what is precious. They breathe fire onto the lies, but they lead with their heart and deep vulnerability. And that's why dragon leadership is so powerful. It's a combination of enormous amounts of power, but tons of vulnerability and connection to others, and a willingness to fly away from the flock that would say, oh, play small, it's okay. Just be with us, you'll be all right. As opposed to, no, you have a path to blaze and the world needs it.
Absolutely. And I love how you just went into detail there, because I had no idea about the translucent scale where you can see the heart. And the leaders that we need in today's world, they have to lead with their heart. They can't just be all bronze and all fight and no compassion, no leading by example. So that's very important that you mentioned that. And while they have to be able to fly away from the flock, I know you said not to have the group think and fall into the let's play small, let's be safe. It's a very interesting characteristic to have for leaders because, like you said, I mean, the old style of leadership was, very determined, pig-headed, invincible. I guess like my parents or their parents, perhaps.
And now my way or the highway.
Exactly.
Domineering leadership.
And now you can't do that. It doesn't work anymore. People don't subscribe to that philosophy anymore.
And the other side is you can't lead on the other side either. So you
Exactly.
can't lead from being wishy-washy. That doesn't
Right.
work either. So a lot of people go, well, I don't want to be a domineering leader. Okay, great. That's good. So you're going to be a wishy-washy dishcloth? You can't lead from that either. Your job, if you want to understand leadership at a personal level, at a level of your community, at a level of anything, in a level of your entrepreneurship, a level of your business, your job is to get people off the fence. Get people on your side or off your side. It's okay. The ones who are off your side are not your enemy. They're just not doing what you want to do. That's okay. All the best to them. God bless them. Do whatever they need to do. But you've got to burn your path. You've got to blaze that path. And that means you've got to have a commitment and a dedication and grit that will allow you resilience and agility in the most challenging times like this. We have to have grit. We have to have agility. We have to have resilience. You can't do that while you're being a dishcloth. And you can't do it being a bombarding, domineering leader who's just plowing over people and doesn't care about the people they're actually there to serve. So it's a combination of both. That's why it's Dragon. It's fire and heart together.
Fire and heart together. I'm going to write that down. I love that. Fire and heart. Because I have met the people who are all fire, no heart. And I've also met the dishcloth, I forget, the dishcloth, the raggedy heart and no fire. And sometimes, I mean, some of us tend to fall into one or the other. It's a difficult mix to have them both, right? So how do you strengthen that?
That's a great question, Chris. And the truth of the matter is that we've likely been socially conditioned for one or the other. So for instance, if you grew up with a dad like that, you might go the other way. If your dad was domineering, you might have turned into a dishcloth because you don't want to be like your dad. Or if your dad was a dishcloth, maybe you've become a hammer, because you don't want to be that. And I'm just using dad. It could be mom. It's not gender specific. So there's a polarity inside of us. And the truth of the matter is that, so I'll give you a simple example. That's nothing to do with this that'll make it really stick. Many, many years ago, about 150 years ago, I was in a therapy session, meaning I was the client. And my therapist said to me, she said, "Are you monogamous?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "How do you know?" I go, "Well, I don't sleep around." She goes, "Yeah, but how do you know you're monogamous?" I go, "Doesn't that mean it?" She goes, "No. How do you know you're monogamous?" I said, "Because I stay faithful." She goes, "Why?" I go, "Because I'm monogamous." She goes, "Yeah, you said that. Why?" Crickets. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Huh.
She questioned me further. And what I realized was the reason I was monogamous was because my father was a douchebag. My father, wanted to have sex with anybody and everybody who was available. Mm-hmm. So I chose to be monogamous, not as a choice, rather, but as a reaction to my father being a douchebag.
Right.
It wasn't a choice. It was a reaction. Now I'm monogamous. It's a choice. It's not a reaction to my dad. It's a choice. I choose it every single day. I'm very happily married in a monogamous marriage and love that. Delicious. It's wonderful. The greatest gift of my life is my marriage. But I'm choosing to be monogamous. I'm not in reaction to the polarity of my father. And so what happens with leadership is we do that. We're either saying, "Oh, I'm going to be like the leader who led me," or "I'm going to polarize it." No, how about you choose something that is neither of those, that is the evolution of those, because you're not here to copy anybody else. You're here to evolve whatever it is you got in your business, in your leadership, and in your humanity. That's what it's about. If we are going to lead, we have to lead by evolving, not by copying, not by reacting, but evolving. What's the next example of this? The iPhone doesn't look like the Nokia shell phone, right? The Oyster phone. It doesn't look like that. But the Nokia Oyster phone was the number one biggest phone in the world. And then came the BlackBerry. And it evolved. And because BlackBerry didn't evolve, the iPhone came. There's an evolution to things, not a copying of. What's the next step? There's a choice to be made. And if we just copy them, we add a few more apps and, it's much better now. No, it's not. That's not evolving. That's a small adaptation, not innovation. As leaders, we have to evolve.
We have to evolve. So that is something that I'm focusing on a lot lately, and many people in my audience can probably relate of, I want to evolve, I want to get better. I'm reading books, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm talking to people, such as we are doing now. How do you know you're trending in the right direction? I mean, I'm doing things faster, I'm learning, I'm making bigger commission checks, I work in real estate. Things seem to be trending in the right direction, but it's difficult to have a baseline, right? Because we're all at a different path. Our journeys are unique.
You're absolutely right. So you have to measure from your own baseline.
Okay.
So number one, competition is a lie. Doesn't exist.
It's only with yourself, right?
The only competition that counts is with yourself. You can measure yourself against other people. It won't make you happy. You can do that. That's all right. However, what I want to say to you is this. Rather than any of that, you have to look at results. And results are not what you think they are. So results you think are a bigger commission check. That's not a result. That's one result. It's not results.
Right.
So here's what you do. I would challenge you to go out there into the world, and I would challenge you to talk to 3 people who know you, but not well enough that they'll blow smoke up your ass, right? Because we've all got friends like that who will say nice things about us.
No matter what.
Because they're great people, and they love us, and it's wonderful, and we all need them, but they're not going to tell you the truth. There's a need to find the people who know you, but not so well. And you can say, what do you see as my strengths? Right?
Okay.
And then say, I really want you to be honest. Where do you think I kind of suck? People will be nice and they won't want to tell you. So you've got to actually reiterate how important it is that they tell you the truth. So they say, well, you kind of suck at communication, or you kind of suck at follow through, or you kind of suck at whatever it is, right? You kind of suck at when you're under stress.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Then you ask, please tell me how that impacts you.
Okay.
That's a result. Now you go away and you go, well, here, listen, the general consensus of those 3 people has been that I kind of suck at sales, or I kind of suck at communication, or I kind of suck at holding people accountable, or whatever it is. And you kind of get 2 out of 3, you might want to interview another 3. And you start looking for that general consensus. That tells you what you need to work on. That's it. That's the results. Because the fact of the matter is human beings are relational. And actually everything we measure is a measurement of some version of a relationship. So you go, well, I'm making great commission checks. Fantastic. So is that a result of relationships? Of course it is. Could your commission checks go up? Of course they can. How can they go up? Better relationships.
Right.
How does that happen? Deeper levels of integrity. How does that happen? Be a stronger dragon leader. Deeper levels of vulnerability, heart, and more commitment to fire.
So
that's
powerful.
how you. It's not by anybody else's measure. Who cares?
I love that.
I don't have any competition.
It's all with yourself. I have that exact mentality, and I've preached that on my podcast before. And what you mentioned there, it's so important to get feedback from our peers and from people who mean a lot to us. And maybe, like you said, maybe not too close to us where they'll just blow smoke up our ass, like you mentioned, because we do have the friends who are like, oh yeah, you're doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, they're going to tell you that no matter what you do. But if you can find someone who can give you honest criticism, and I'll do this in my relationship with my girlfriend all the time. I'm like, hey, like, are you happy? Are we good? Is everything like, is there anything I can improve? And I'm always trying to get feedback because I want to know, is there anything I'm doing that's annoying you? Is there anything I'm doing that you'd not like me to not do, right? Whether that's in business or relationships or anything, it's great to get feedback.
You're kind of going a little bit off the track, and I want to bring it back.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, that's a very normal response, what you just said. Because that's moving towards the dishcloth.
Okay. Right.
We don't want to go to the dishcloth either. That's not going to work. Right. So what we want to find out is what's not working for them. And is it because I might be doing things that don't work for them? And I'm like, yes. Not because I'm an ass, but because that's the truth of what matters to me.
Okay.
Right. So what's not working for me, Dov, is you don't go to church on Sunday. Okay. I'm not changing that. That's not who I am. I have no problem with you going. I have no problem with you taking 5,000 of your friends with you. I'm not going. That's okay. So it's not about becoming a pretzel and twisting and turning for everybody else.
Right.
It's about finding. So where have you got to start? You got to start here. What are your values? What matters to you? You can't lead yourself or anybody else until you've found that out. And by the way, if I say to you, what matters to you? And I'm going to say, okay, write it down. And so let's say you write down, just give me one just to play, Chris.
Freedom.
Freedom, right. So, oh, that's a good one. Everybody's listening and go, oh, yeah, freedom. Yeah, that matters to me. Okay, what does it mean?
To me, freedom means being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want.
Great. Are you free?
Not quite all the way.
Of course you're not. No, okay. So what would make you free?
More money.
Okay, so I now give you $1 million. Are you free?
There's always another level. I guess not. I have to be free now with what I have.
Exactly. So you have to determine what freedom is that's got nothing to do with anything external. That's the problem with your value. It's not your value. How do I know? Because it's externally referenced. My values are not externally referenced. They have impact in the world, but they're not externally referenced. So when you say free and more money, that's not freedom. That's more money. Many people, I know people who have hundreds of millions of dollars who are certainly not free because they have money. In fact, they might be a little bit imprisoned by that money.
Yeah,
so
they're
money
trapped
is
in
not
the
freedom.
lifestyle.
Do you need more money? Sure. How much? I don't know. But what I know is you'll never be free with money any more than you'll be free if you're poor. Poor won't make you free either. So the money is not the problem in either direction, whether it's poverty or wealth. That's not what it is. So you've got to look at, well, what matters to me and why? Why does freedom? So let me look at that now. Why does freedom matter, Chris? By the way, welcome to the workshop.
Thank you. This is great. So freedom to me, it's important because I feel like my life is being controlled by what I like to do. I'm not at someone else's mercy, right? I had the desk job before where I felt like I was imprisoned. And now today, for example, I got coffee with an investor friend. I got lunch with my girlfriend. And I really don't feel like I've worked at all, but I count those things as things that I want to do. So it feels like I've had a very free day today.
Why does it matter?
Because I value my relationships and because I value being able to at least feel like I'm in control of my life and destiny, because I truly believe that I am. So 7 whys deep as we go deeper. So that matters to me because the more in control that I feel that I am and the more power that I feel like I have of my life, the more changes I can make in the direction that I'd like to go. It's internal. Because I'm very driven and I've got a lot of things that I'd like to accomplish in my life. And I can't do those things if I feel like it's on someone else's shoulders and that I don't have the power to do so.
Why is it important to do those things?
So that I can make the world a better place and positively influence others.
Why does that matter?
So other people can be inspired and in turn make their communities better and make their own cities better and make the world. So
what if you didn't wait 7 levels to get to that? What if you went to that first?
Skip through all the levels and just go straight there.
Because all that other stuff is bullshit. All that's the stuff you make up to justify in the world, as opposed to just telling your truth. Your truth is at that 7th level. It's at the 5th, 6th, and 7th level of that process. And you can skip all the other nonsense because all the other nonsense is justification you want to do into the world. We all do it. I'm not judging you for it. Right? We've all done it. But if you skip through all that and just go, here's what it matters to me. Freedom. Why? Because of this. And you
go straight to the 7th level.
I get you don't understand that. You don't need to. I know what it is. That's the fire that I'm going to bring to the world. That's what's going to get me up tomorrow morning. Not another commission check. I'm going to make the commission check. I'm going to drive for the commission check because it feeds the number 7.
Right.
That's why. You want all the justification. I ain't giving it to you. I don't care. This is what I'm doing. So now you're saying to me, well, it kind of upsets me that you're driven. I understand.
Right.
Are you going to do anything? No. Why? Because of number 7.
Because number 7 is why I'm driven, right?
That's it.
That's my why.
So they go, oh, okay. Otherwise, you're a dishcloth, and you start losing your own value and why you're doing what you're actually doing. So you go, oh, well, I'll buy you this, or I'll do that, or I'll take you here, or I'll do that, or I'll wash my personality away until there's nothing left. One of the things I tell my male friends, told my male friends for years, if you remained the guy your wife fell in love with, you'd still be married. But what you did was you went into your underwear, you cut your nuts off, you handed them to her, and she put them in a jar under the sink. She didn't want them. No woman wants your testicles. She's not interested in them. But if you give them to her, she'll take care of them for you. And it's not about being a macho dick. Not at all. It's about being deeply loving, deeply compassionate. What we value in others is not about a woman and a man thing. What we value in others is people who are deeply integral to who they are. You can't be deeply integral and be a dishcloth. You can't be a deeply integral person and hand off your testes. That's not how it works. And by the way, if you're a woman listening to that, that's your ovaries. It's the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Right? If you're handing your gonads over to another person, you've just lost who you are. And that's what they fell in love with. If they fell in love with you because you were a project and they could change you, you're in the wrong relationship. Should you get better in your relationships? Absolutely. But not because they're changing you, but because you're called to get better. I want to be a better man every single day that I'm married to my amazing bride. Every single day, I want to be better. I do. I try to be a better man every single day. But that's not because she wants me to be. It's because I want to be.
Right.
She benefits from that, of course, hopefully. But sometimes I'm a shit guy. I don't do a great job. And that lets me pick up my game because I have to look at the result again and say, well, what's the impact on the person I love? I need that. So that's how I measure the track. When you're saying, where's the baseline? What's the track? That's it.
As long as you're just continually getting better when compared against your baseline.
Compared to your baseline in alignment with your values that are not on that surface level freedom. Because we can go and ask 50 people what freedom means.
50 different
50
things.
answers. When I was first dating my wife and I went for a drink with my mate, and he says to me, he said, how's it going? He goes, I really like her. How's it going? And I go, it's great. She's amazing. And I said, I'm going to tell you a secret. And he goes, what? I said, I haven't told anybody yet. And he goes, what? I said, I think I'm going to ask her to marry me. I was 39. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm really surprised. And I said, why? He goes, I know what your number one maxim is. And I said, yeah, so do I. And he goes, is it still the same? I said, of course, freedom. And he goes, yeah, so how can you ask her to marry you? I said, because you think freedom is the ability to put your penis in other vaginas. That's not what freedom is to me.
It's a different definition to you.
That's your definition. I understand that. I have no problem with it. But my definition of freedom is I can be more of who I actually am at my core, placing myself in environments that free me up to be even more of who I am. That's what freedom is. To be a greater expression of my soul, of my dragon fire. That's what freedom is. And I said, with this person, I feel more free than I've ever felt. So, of course, why wouldn't I want to marry this person?
Right.
So freedom is, again, that's a
Different
surface
things.
answer. Whatever it is, go deeper, find out what it is for you. That's okay. Whatever it comes to, it's okay. I'm not here to say it's right or wrong. But then you can stop making excuses and trying to sugarcoat it and make it palatable. Who cares? Live your life. It's yours.
Absolutely. So whenever you're measuring against your baseline, are you getting any feedback from your spouse or anything or people around
all the
you?
time.
Okay, so you're constantly getting feedback as well.
Yeah, but in order to get that feedback, again, you have to get feedback from people who don't own smoke machines. Right? You've got to get feedback from people who will tell you the truth. Now, the truth doesn't have to come like a hammer. So people talk about being brutally honest. I don't want you to be brutally honest. I want you to be deeply, lovingly, compassionately honest, but nonetheless honest. So if I'm doing something that as an example, if I'm doing something that my wife sees that is less than great, my wife doesn't say, oh, you're behaving shitty, or you should change that. That's not how we work. My wife will simply look at me and she'll say, when you did X or Y, and I'll go, yeah. And she goes, how do you feel about that? Was that the best representation of yourself? Is that who you've told me you want to be? She didn't ask me to change a damn thing. She's just reminding me of my values. And invariably, she is absolutely right. And I'm like, oh, I kind of sucked there, didn't I? And I got to go do something about it. Often that starts with an apology or something. And then it goes from there for me taking care of, okay, what do I need to do internally? Externally, I maybe need to apologize. But internally, what do I need to do to minimize that repeating.
Right. So she'll ask you how you felt about that. So that's a really nice way of doing it. Instead of throwing you under the bus or getting in an argument, she'll just point it out and mention it.
Well, she's asking me to be accountable to me.
Right.
So that's the feedback loop, is having somebody you can trust enough that will hold you accountable to your own values. So she's not saying you're wrong, you're bad, you should change. No. She's simply saying, what's the value you have around this? I say it's this. Was that in alignment with that? No. Okay. And then she'll say, I'm not asking you to change it. I'm not asking you to do anything with it. She's
just
not.
to notice it.
Just to pay attention. And then I have to go, okay, because I'm an accountable human being, I go, okay, I got to go do something about it. But I don't have to. She's not being brutally honest. She's deeply, lovingly, compassionately honest. And that works better because, like everybody else, I've got a teenager in me that wants to go, nee. Right? You're wrong, I'm right. I've got that. Everybody's got that. But I can listen from that place. I'm not defensive from that place. And I'm usually far more sensitive and softer to respond to that because there's no attack. Why would I respond aggressively to somebody who's not attacking me?
Right.
So be cautious of this brutal honesty versus loving, compassionate, deep honesty.
That's a very important distinction because, like you said, I mean, you're not going to put your guard up and feel like you have to go into defense mode because she's not attacking you. She's just approaching you very gently and nicely so that you can have an adult conversation without because so often people do the finger pointing, like, you always do this, you're like this. If you didn't do this, then this wouldn't happen. And then the other person, of course, gets caught off guard and then they start fighting for no reason. And then nothing really changes, right? They're still stuck in their ways, and they didn't really learn anything from that lesson.
People get pushed back into their corner.
Exactly.
When people are pushed into their corner, they'll just dig in their heels.
Right.
So again, it's about holding the other person accountable, not to who you think they should be, but to who they've told you they want to be. That's it. Right? It's not being nice. Like NICE, neurotic, insecure, controlling emotions, not NICE. It's compassionate and loving and empathetic and holding the person accountable and into integrity to what they said, not what I think, not what I think they should be, to what they said. My friend was dating somebody and I said, who did you say you wanted to date? And he goes, I said, okay, let's just take it at a surface level. Who did you say you wanted to date? Well, I wanted to date somebody with light blue eyes and dark hair. Okay. Does this girl have light blue eyes and dark hair? No, she has red hair. Okay. I'm not saying you should date somebody with red hair or not. Nothing to do with me. I'm just pointing out, don't say it if you don't want it. And if you do want it, then why don't you just stick to it? Because it's not, and people go, oh, well, isn't that superficial, red hair? No, it's a microcosm of a macrocosm. It's an example. If you're doing it with red hair, you're doing it across the board, mate. You're selling out across the board. You think it's just about red hair? It ain't. You're selling out across the board. So don't claim it if you don't want it. Because if you're my client and you claim it, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on it. Because you're telling me that's what you want. So I'm going to be the guy who's going to say to you, okay, I'm going to get you to what you want. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. I'm going to hold you so fiercely to that you'll be accountable to doing it. So you tell me you want to make $1 million. Fantastic. How are we going to do it? We're going to do X, Y, and Z. Fantastic.
When you started.
Well, why are you doing S? Why are you doing A and B? Well, I like that. Okay, great. Do it in your part-time. Have you done X, Y, and Z? No. Okay. So what do you want to do about that? Do you want to throw that away and we can find something else? Or do you want it? No, I really want it. Then stop doing A and B and S and M. Let's just go to X, Y, and Z. That's it. Whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in business, whether that's in marketing, whatever it is in your life, you've got to decide what you want, and you've got to find people who will hold you accountable to it, who will crack the whip.
Absolutely. Because if you don't take the time to figure out what you want, then they're not sure what to hold you accountable to because you haven't done the inner work.
No, and that's why having a great coach, mentor, advisor is number one, they're going to find out, first of all, what do you want and why do you want it? Because I don't care what you want. I really don't care. People will change their mind every 10 minutes about what they want. They have no idea what they want. Ask anybody what they want, they'll tell you something, and then ask them 10 minutes later, they can't even remember they told you that. So it's not what they want. Why do you want it? Why do you want what it is you want? Great. Terrific. Let's stick with that. Now, if you want that, that's wonderful. Now, what's the path to get there? How can I hold you accountable to that? And how can I serve you getting to that? But you got to find out what it is you want and why you want it. Because anything you think you want, you don't want. You want something that's a result of that. I want freedom. No, you don't. You want the result of the freedom. What is the result? I don't know. Maybe it's impact in the world. Okay, great. Fantastic. I want a marriage. Well, okay, well, we'll send off to Russia and we'll import you one. Right? Oh, well, no, I don't want that. Well, what do you want? Why do you want it? So there's a result, there's the thing you're going for, and then there is why you want it, which is actually more aligned with your soul, more aligned with your values, more, or it's not. But unfortunately, most people are pursuing what they want, getting what they don't really want, because it's, I mean, did you ever read Aladdin when you were a kid?
I don't think I never read it, but I watched the movies.
You saw the movie, right? So
yeah.
in the story of Aladdin, I remember reading the original Aladdin, which was not actually a fairy tale. It was actually a piece of literature.
Mm-hmm.
And in the story, the genie says you have 3 wishes. And he takes the first wish, and he's very happy because he gets what he wished for. And then he realizes, oh, that wasn't very satisfying. And he wishes for the second thing, and he gets what he wants. But the consequence of it is it's extremely damaging to the first thing he wanted. So it takes him several years before he makes the third wish, because he has to mature. He has to develop emotional maturity to actually ask, what do I really want? And can I live with the consequences of that? But most of us are not consequential in our thinking. We're just driven by instant gratification, especially today.
True.
Right? So we go, I want to make this sale. Why? Because I'm going to make 20 grand on this sale. Great. Why do you want 20 grand? Nothing wrong with 20 grand. Why do you want it? Well, I want to put it into my savings account. Why? But you got to dig deeper. You want to be a successful entrepreneur. You want to be a successful leader in your own life, in your marriage, in your relationship, in your community. Go deeper. Find the dragon fire. Find out what it is that you want to serve in the world that's bigger than you.
That's awesome. And that'll give you that why to wake up, where that you don't even need the alarm clock, because that inner dragon fire is what fuels you.
Every single day, all day long. You got to be willing to ask the questions you're uncomfortable asking. So that's the next level of this. Curiosity. So in order for you to be the person you want to be, you're going to need certain things. So number one is you're going to need curiosity, the willingness to ask yourself questions and ask the world questions and question the things that you believe. So anything you believe, I challenge you to question it. I say to you, what religion are you? You say, I'm a Christian. Okay, great. Why? Well, I go to church on Sunday. No, that's a place. Why? Well, my family are Christian. No, that's your family. If I take a Ford and park it in a Ferrari garage, does that instantly make it a Ferrari? No, it's a Ford. Okay, so why are you Christian? Right? Or I'm Stoic. Why? It doesn't matter whether it's a religion or a philosophy or I'm ugly. Okay, how do you know? I look in the mirror, see ugliness. Well, I don't know if that's true. Maybe you have a misperception. Like, you got to look at all of these things. Question what it is you believe, because it's probably not true. And how do I know? Because everything you believe, you either adopted or inherited. You went to school and they told you, this is that. And you went, oh, okay. Why? Because I'm at school and that's what I'm supposed to do. They didn't ask you to think. They asked you to regurgitate. And you go, well, I believe this. Why? Because my dad did, or my mom did, or my family does. That's not your beliefs. So you got to be willing to question everything. That's curiosity. But to do that takes the next thing, courage. So it starts with curiosity, then you go to courage. Most people don't make it to courage. They start with curiosity, go, oh, the head starts to
Spin.
explode, and like, oh no, so they back off. Okay. So you need courage. You need courage to question those things. Then when you have that courage, you will need more curiosity. So it goes curiosity, courage, curiosity, and then you get to meaning. Meaning. What is the meaning? Which is now that 7-level why. Mm-hmm. What is the meaning of this? What does it mean to me? If you don't do the curiosity, you'll never get to the courage. If you don't do the courage, you'll never get to the meaning. That's what it takes to be a dragon leader in your own life, in your business, in anything you're doing. If you're a successful salesperson, I'll tell you why. It's not because you're a great closer. It's because you're curious about your client. That's it.
Absolutely.
I teach sales training all the time. It's not because you're a great closer. I'll often say, what makes for a great, oh yeah, they use this technique or whatever. Okay, so show me somebody who doesn't do that, who is a great salesperson, because there's always an exception to the rule. And they go, oh yeah, well, is it Bobby's, and he never did the sales training. He's really good. And I go, you know why? And you go, why? Because he's curious. Curious, right? If you're running around saying, I've got a 7-bedroom house and it's up in this area and it's got these schools and all these great things, and I'm looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, I don't care. But if you're bother to find out curiosity about me and what I want, then you go, oh, I've got that for you. It's easy. Here you go. But we don't bother. We want to sell what we have rather than finding out what you want. And that's not true in sales. That's true in life. It's certainly true in sales, but it's also true in life. We go out, we're single. What do we say? I'll tell you what we say. We say this. Hi, I'm Bob. Who would you like me to be? Right? We actually don't show up as ourselves. Instead of being curious about, well, who are you? Tell me about you. I want to know about you so I can show you who I am. But I want to know about you, not who do you want me to be. That's not curiosity. That's manipulation.
You can't fake who you are in any case, or otherwise it's not going to last very long.
You can fake who you are, but you're absolutely right. It won't last long.
you can't fake it forever.
Or it'll last a long time, and you'll both be miserable.
Possibly so, yeah. And even with your clients. Like that. Yeah, your clients, you can't fake who you are to your clients. I mean, I make it a point I'm very casual in everything that I do. I feel like it helps me look approachable. And I've even done, higher end homes, and I don't really dress up or anything. And people are like, well, shouldn't you wear this? I'm like, no, well, it's part of my branding in a way, because I want people to know I'm approachable. I'm friendly. I'm down to earth. I'm just a regular person who loves what I do. And so it's not true to me if I'm dressing up and being someone who I'm not, and, trying to use bigger words than I really care to use and things like that, right? Because I'm not being true to myself. So I've been indirectly kind of using that lesson, even though I'm learning a lot here today and taking tons of notes. So thank you for that, Dom.
You're welcome.
So how can people do this in their organizations or with their team? Because it's one thing with friends or, spouse or significant other, but it's another when you're a leader of maybe a large or growing organization.
So the first thing is, again, it doesn't matter whether it's personal or it's a company. Why do we exist? So we being XYZ Inc. Okay.
What's our mission and our purpose?
So why do we exist? Well, we exist to make money and be profitable. Yes, that is true. You do. That's part of it. If you don't make profit, then obviously you're out of business. Okay. So if we solve the money problem, why are you in business? Well, we serve our clients. There's some right answer. There's no point of distinction now whatsoever. Why? So here's the question to ask. If our company went away tomorrow, like COVID came in, and a lot of companies that have been around for a long time disappeared. The recession of 2008, blue chip companies disappeared. Now we can ask, 12 years later, tell me the companies that disappeared that you missed in 2008. Most people couldn't even tell you. Most companies that disappeared in this calamity that we've got right now with COVID, the companies that disappear, most of them won't matter. So what will be the legacy after you're gone? If your company was suddenly wiped out, what would be the hole in the world? What would be missing? You don't want to be a real estate company. Who gives a crap? There's 9 million of those all over the place. You don't be a salesperson. Who gives a crap? There's millions of them. Everything's commoditized. That's the world we live in. So the only point of differentiation is what you bring to the relationships. So you've got to decide what that is. So that's something you have to find in yourself as an individual, as a leader, but it's also something you have to find out in your team. Because there are people in your team who just want to make money. And they're probably in their early 20s and they just want to make some money to establish themselves. And that's okay. But that's only the second phase of life. There'll come a third phase of life, which is about leaving a legacy. Now, smart people, really smart people, operate their entire lives from that legacy, even in their early 20s. They're still going to make a lot of money. They're still going to do well, but they're doing it because there is a deep, deep sense of purpose about what it is they're doing. So you have to make sure that the people who are working with you are aligned to that. If you don't have a unification of that, then you'll hit the wall very quickly. Your best salespeople will go away. I know lots of companies, they offered their people a 20 or 30% cut in pay during the pandemic so as not to furlough anybody, not to lay anybody off. Did anybody like it? No. Nobody liked it. But every one of them took it. Why? Not because they were going to swallow the hard pill, but because they believed in the purpose of the organization. They believed in what mattered to the organization. So one of the companies I know, they did a 15% cut across the board, and they did a 30% cut for all the executives. So everybody who worked got a 15% cut. All the executives got a 30% cut. They all took it for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, the company realized we didn't go down in profitability at all. They paid everybody back the 15% they lost over the 6 months. The only people who didn't take the extra were the executives who said, no, let's reinvest it. I didn't miss it. It's okay. Let's put it back in.
That's awesome.
Because there was that spending the time, that commitment to really deeply connect. That's what we have to do. Everything else is superficial.
Absolutely. So really spending time thinking. That's been something that I've been working on more, just journaling lately. Like, how am I feeling? I meet with a therapist every other week as well. And Wonderful. She always starts off with that question. So how are you feeling today? I'm like, oh, that's so nice. You never really get asked that question. So instead of how are you today, which everyone just says good reflexively, even if they're not, it's kind of nice to start off and say, well, I'm feeling pretty good, but this one thing's stressing me out. And then we kind of, follow the thread and, well, why is that stressing you out? Asking the whys. And so that's been very helpful for me as well. I mean, a lot of the things that you talked about today, going to your why and really finding out what that is. A lot of us, we do things because we've been doing them for so long. It's routine. So making sure to have reminders like you're telling my audience today to step back and really think about, why are you doing what you're doing? And is it really your purpose? And if not, how do you kind of align and course correct if necessary?
Yeah. And the thing around that is to understand that, we've got this thing called social isolation right now because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And the question I'm asking people all the time is, are you any less busy? And most people are not. So the only question is, are you busy because you're working on your business, or are you in busyness? So a lot of the time, rather than sitting and thinking or journaling or writing about something or studying or allowing ourselves to marinate in what's going on for us, we get busy. We distract ourselves. We watch another YouTube video. We listen to a podcast that we're not really listening to.
Right.
We're on a game with a friend, or we're watching a Netflix special, or we're doing stuff and saying that we're busy. But if you're not busy from a place of being driven by dragonfire, by your deep purpose, then you're in busyness, not in business. If you're not getting up to say, I want to do this because, my schedule's loony. All right, so what? Is that a bad thing? Yeah, it could probably be better, of course. But Am I excited to do it every day? Yes. Am I exhausted? Probably. Okay. But it's moving me towards this thing as opposed to me distracting me from something else.
Right.
So when your therapist says how you're feeling, they're actually asking you, what is going on below the distraction? We are very distracted. What's going on below the distraction? And, it's like the duck on the pond. It seems to be gliding along, but those legs are moving very fast. And that turbulence is going on in all of our lives. But we all like to look like we're all gliding along. How are you? I'm fine. F-I-N-E. Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
That's really cool. I never really thought of that. The ducks gliding across the pond. I mean, you're right. They do look like they're just gliding or skating along, but their feet are moving. They're paddling. They have to do the work. And that's an important yes, ferociously. That's an important message. A lot of people think that they can just hope that something will happen or they can just visualize it, but you have to take the action. You actually have to take the steps required to move towards your goal a little bit every day, 1% better every single day.
Absolutely, Chris. You're absolutely right. And again, though, the proviso is, are you doing action that's aligned with that? Or are you doing action so that you look busy? Because listen, if you ask anybody, how you doing? Everybody's answer is, I'm busy. People don't even say fine anymore, right? They say, I'm busy.
Busy. Yeah.
Busy. I'm busy too. I get it. I'm not taking anything away from that. But what are you busy with?
And are those things even aligning with what you want to be doing?
Exactly. Are you busy with being busy? Or are you busy moving in the direction of what it is that matters most to you, the impact you can have? That's what counts. If you're not doing that, that's okay. But you can stop and you can question it. You can have curiosity about it. You can have some courage about it so that you're actually acting out of meaning. That's what it comes down to.
That's
You've
powerful.
got to hold yourself accountable to that. You got to find people who hold you accountable to that. So let's start again. Everybody gets it. So we're going to start off with what matters to you. You got to find your own values. You got to take that 7 levels deep. You might hit it in 4. It's not likely, but it's usually 5, 6, 7. Then skip all the rest and just go, this is what matters and here's why. Boom. Okay. Do that with 3 to 5 of those. You got that in place. Fantastic. Now you've already practiced the why of that. So you've already learned curiosity. So now you say, okay, now let me start questioning what it is I believe. So you start questioning that. You have curiosity about that. All right, let me get curious. Is that mine? Did I adopt it? Was it indoctrinated into me? Am I reactive to it? I.e. me being monogamous? Is it a reaction or is it a choice? It still looks the same. I was monogamous before, I'm monogamous now. But the difference is it's a choice now. It's not a reaction to my dad's shitty behavior, right? It's like, no, this is who I am. Not because of my father, but because of what matters to me. So you question what you believe. You're getting deep with that. So you build that curiosity. From that curiosity, you're going to have courage, because that means you're going to have to confront some things that you probably don't want to confront, that it would be easier to ignore, which means you'll have to start building some boundaries around that, which means you'll have to say no. Oh my goodness, saying no, what a terrible thing. Yeah, you have to say no. The integrity of no. Go read, if you read my stuff on LinkedIn, there's an article I wrote on there a long time ago called The Integrity of No. Go read it. It's about me turning away a client who wanted to offer me a lot of money. No. If you don't have that integrity with your own values, you're dead in the water anyway. You got a fat bank account and an empty soul. That's a high price to pay. So curiosity, courage, leads you to meaning. That's how you've got to approach all of it.
I love that.
Decide the legacy you want to live. The legacy you want to live and the legacy you want to leave.
In that last part you said too, I wrote that down. A fat bank account and an empty soul is a high price to pay. I like that.
The highest price.
That is the highest price. I was just talking to someone about that the other day, actually my therapist yesterday, and I was telling her I am at that point where I am turning down clients that drain my energy, that are not a good fit for what I like to work with. If they're going to be negative every time I talk to them. When I say, how's it going? And they're like, well, let's see, what news do you have for me? I hate those little negative things. And if I get those vibes from our initial consultation, I may just say, hey, this may not be the best fit, because I'm trying to work with high energy, positive people that are going to be great to be around and are going to energize me versus drain my batteries a lot.
Absolutely.
Faster, right?
Absolutely.
So knowing what you want and what your dream business or life looks like, and making sure you set up your life in a way that you can actually attain those things.
Yeah, just like the willingness to let go of what you don't want.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds like a bizarre concept, but like, you're holding on to what you don't want. Let it go. You can't get to where you want to go to while you're holding on to where you don't want to be.
Right. And that can be so hard for the newer entrepreneurs, where right now they may say yes to any paying client who's willing to pay. But finally, when they get to that certain level where, okay, they can pay the bills, they can keep the lights on, they can get a little more selective. But I remember when I first started too, and I was in that place where anyone with a pulse who wanted to work with me, I was there. Let's go. And finally, I've achieved that level where I can be a little more selective. Hey, this person can take care of you. I've already got a full client load at the moment. And that's definitely starting to be a lot more fun to do, because I'm kind of claiming that power and making sure that I take control of the business that I'd like to have.
But what if you'd have started there, Chris?
Oh, yes. That would have saved me quite a few headaches. But like you said, it could be hard to say no from the beginning when I had no money. And I'm like, that's like a $5,000 commission check if it closes. But the whole time it drained my energy. The whole time it was a pain to work with.
So that's what I'm talking about.
It was a high price to pay.
Bank account and an empty soul. So
Very
let me ask you a question. Because I want young entrepreneurs listening to get this.
Yeah.
What did it cost you to earn that $5,000?
Oh, it costed me sleep. It costed me peace of mind. It made me restless. It was probably,
so you paid more than $5,000. So there's an old saying, it's a joke, but it's a good one. And that is this, that if you marry for money, you earn every penny. Right? And it's similar to this context in understanding that nothing's free.
Right.
So if you take on a client because you're desperate, you're going to pay for that.
One way or another.
One way or another. And yeah, it may pay the rent, but will it cost you your soul? That's an incredible price to pay. There are a lot of people today in miserable relationships because they don't want to pay the price of being single and having to face their own soul or face their own, issues of whatever it is. So they stay in a shitty relationship that they're miserable in, and they make the other person miserable, and they rob them too by staying in a crap relationship they don't want to be in. What's the cost of that? Oh my goodness.
Their lives.
I don't want to be that guy. I've been that guy. Don't get me wrong. I was that guy 100 years ago, but that's a terribly high price to pay. So whether it's with a client, whether it's a relationship, romantic or otherwise, really take a look at what is the price I'm paying here.
And is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
And of course, it depends, right? Everyone's values, like you said. I mean,
absolutely.
It may be worth
I'm not
it
here
to
to
one
say it
person.
doesn't worth it or is.
That's for
I'm
us to
asking
decide.
you to ask yourself.
Absolutely. Well, Dov, I know we're approaching the end of the hour here, and I want to be respectful of your time. Where can our audience go to learn more about you and to dive into your world? You've got a lot of great content you shared, and thank you for the workshop.
You're welcome. So you can find out more about me at dovbaron.com. That's DOVBARON.com. There you can find out about the Dragon's Lair, which is where I offer trainings to the public through my Patreon channel as well. There's trainings on ethical leadership. There's trainings on persuasion technology, ethical persuasion. There's how to be the most disciplined person you know. There's a whole bunch of great trainings that are right inside there. Those are available. I have a YouTube channel with about 700 videos on it. I have 2 podcasts, the Leadership and Loyalty podcast and the Curiosity Bites podcast. You can find out about those also on dovbaron.com. And I write for Medium, Dragon's Den. And really, I'm not hard to find. If you want to find me,
you just Google.
And you can also write to me personally.
Awesome.
You can also write to me personally, Dov at dovbaron.com, because actually I want to know, what did you get out of this? Because if you're listening to this and this is simply fluff for your ears, I'm sorry, then it wasted my time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. Information is worth the hole in the donut. There's more information than you could ever consume. Transformation comes from application. What are you going to do with what we talked about today? How are you going to use it? And if you want to reach out to me with the possibility of me working with you or showing you how I can offer you trainings that if you can't afford to work with me privately, ways that you can get access to my work, again, Dov, D-O-V, at dovbaron.com. I want to thank Chris. Thank you, Chris, for having me on.
Great
and
to have you on the show.
I want to encourage you to share this show with everybody you know. Share Chris's show. Go to iTunes or wherever it is and rate, review, subscribe to his show, and tell your friends about it. Share it. Because, listen, we should not be hoarding good stuff. We should be sharing it and making the world a better place. Chris takes the time to find you great guests who come on and give you their time. We charge a lot for our time, and we're willing to do that for you. So do something back for Chris and for the world, and go out there and share it with others.
Thank you so much, Dov. And that's a great call to action at the end. I need to do that more at the end of my podcast. So everyone, please go share this with at least 2 friends. Let's make it quantifiable, at least 2 friends, and make sure to go leave a review, and also send Dov an email and let him know what you thought, because I love it whenever people communicate with my guests so they know that their message on my platform did impact someone in my audience and maybe bring someone to them who needed to hear that message. So once again, thank you so much for your time, Dov. I really appreciate it. And it was great connecting with you today.
Thank you. Stay curious, my friend. Stay curious.
Thank you. Will do.